Many people come to me and say, I don't know why, but every day I wake up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., and once I'm awake, sleep doesn't come back. They think something is wrong with them. Some even fear it is a bad sign. But the real question is not why your body woke you up. The real question is, what is life trying to whisper to you when the world is silent? Because understand this gently and clearly, nothing in nature happens randomly. Not the sunrise, not your breath, and not your sudden awakening in those quiet hours when even the birds are asleep. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the world is at its most honest. There is no noise, no phone calls, no expectations, no performance. Just you and your thoughts. In ancient wisdom, these hours were never called disturbing. They were called sacred. The mind is lighter. The ego is softer. And the heart, if you listen carefully, speaks louder than it does all day. Most people wake up at this time and immediately panic. They grab their phone, they scroll, they distract themselves, they fight the silence. But silence is not your enemy. Silence is where truth waits patiently. When life wants to change you, it does not shout during the day when you are busy pretending. It calls you in the early morning when masks are tired and the soul is awake. I remember a story of a young man named Arjun. He was successful by society's definition. Good job, good salary, respected by people. Yet every night at exactly 3:40 a.m., his eyes would open. No alarm, no noise, just sudden awareness. At first, he was frustrated. Why can't I sleep like normal people? He complained. Doctors said he was fine. Reports were normal, but peace was missing. One morning, exhausted and irritated, he went to visit an old monk living near the river. The monk listened quietly and smiled. He said, "You are not waking up at 3:40 a.m. Your life is waking you up. You are just present enough to notice." Arjun was confused. The monk continued, "During the day, you are busy living the life others designed for you. At night, when the world releases you, your inner self finally gets a chance to speak. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., your subconscious mind is most active. All the suppressed emotions, ignored dreams, unexpressed pain, and unanswered questions rise gently to the surface. During the day, you push them down with work, responsibilities, and entertainment. But at night, there is nowhere to hide. That's why some people feel anxious at this hour. It's not anxiety, it's awareness knocking. In the language of ancient yogic wisdom, this time is called Brahma Muhurta. Not because it sounds spiritual, but because it is practical. The mind is calm, the air is pure, and the world is still. If you ever want to understand yourself deeply, these are the hours that will tell you the truth without lying to protect your ego. But here is the uncomfortable truth. If you keep waking up at this time, it often means something inside you is unresolved. Not wrong, unresolved. Maybe you are living out of alignment. Maybe you are exhausted emotionally, not physically. Maybe you are giving too much of yourself to the world and too little to your own soul. Arjun started sitting quietly when he woke up instead of fighting sleep. At first, his thoughts were chaotic. Regrets from the past, fears about the future, conversations he wished he had handled differently. But slowly, as days passed, something changed. The noise reduced. And one morning, in that same silence, a question arose clearly inside him. Is this the life I truly want to live? That question scared him more than sleeplessness ever did. You see, waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is often not about sleep. It is about direction. Life checks in with you when distractions are gone. Are you happy? Are you honest? Are you at peace with the person you are becoming? People think peace comes from sleeping longer. No, peace comes from living right. When your actions during the day contradict your inner values, your nights become restless. The soul does not keep office hours. It speaks when it gets the chance. Sometimes waking up at this time is also a sign that you are being prepared. Prepared to grow, prepared to lead, prepared to understand life beyond survival. Every transformation begins with discomfort. A seed breaks before it becomes a tree, and awareness often begins with disturbed sleep. Arjun eventually realized that his job was feeding his bank account but starving his spirit. He was living to impress, not to express. Slowly, he started making small changes. He didn't quit everything overnight, he just started listening. He started journaling at dawn, meditating for a few minutes, asking himself honest questions instead of avoiding them, and something beautiful happened. The same 3:40 a.m. that once felt like punishment started feeling like an invitation. Many people ask, is waking up at this time spiritual? Spirituality is not about time, it is about attention. If you wake up and worry, you suffer. If you wake up and observe, you grow. If you wake up and listen, you transform. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the ego is weak. That's why breakthroughs happen here. Ideas are born here, tears fall here, real prayers happen here, not the ones memorized but the ones felt. This is also the time when intuition is strongest. That inner voice you ignore all day suddenly becomes clear. It tells you who is draining you, what habit is hurting you, what truth you've been avoiding. That's why many people feel uncomfortable at this hour. Truth is uncomfortable before it becomes liberating. If you wake up at this time repeatedly, don't curse your sleep, respect the message, sit up, breathe, don't reach for your phone immediately, reach inward, ask what am I not listening to during the day. Sometimes the answer will be pain you haven't healed. Sometimes it will be a dream you postponed. Sometimes it will be a relationship that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Healing begins with awareness, and awareness often begins in silence. Arjun once asked the monk, will this stop? The monk smiled and said, when you start living consciously during the day, the night will let you rest. That is the key. Night restlessness is often day dishonesty. Not lying to others, but lying to yourself. So if you're waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., consider this a gentle knock, not a problem. Life is asking you to slow down, to reflect, to realign, to remember that you are more than your schedule, your salary, and your responsibilities. One day, Arjun slept through the night peacefully. No sudden awakening, no restlessness. He smiled in the morning, not because he slept well, but because he was finally awake in life. And maybe that's what this early waking is trying to teach you. Not how to sleep better, but how to live better. And when you begin to understand this, you slowly stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking a far more powerful question, what is this trying to teach me? Because growth never arrives with comfort, it arrives with interruption. And waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is one of life's most subtle interruptions. Most people are unconscious during the day. They live on autopilot. Wake up, rush, work, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat. There is movement, but no direction, noise, but no clarity. So life chooses the only time when it can reach you without competition. The early hours of the morning. No notifications, no expectations, just honesty. In those hours, the mind is not fully controlled by logic. That's why suppressed emotions surface. That's why memories appear suddenly. That's why you sometimes feel heavy without knowing why. It is not weakness, it is the mind finally releasing what you didn't allow yourself to feel all day. Many people mistake this for overthinking. But overthinking is not thinking too much. Overthinking is thinking too late. You delayed listening to yourself all day. So the mind brings everything together at once when you are still. There was a night when Arjun woke up again. But this time something was different. Instead of restlessness, there was a strange calm. He sat near the window and watched the dark sky slowly soften. He realized something powerful. The world does not change suddenly. Light does not fight darkness. It simply arrives quietly, patiently. And darkness leaves on its own. That moment taught him a deep lesson. Transformation does not need force. It needs consistency and awareness. People often ask, should I meditate when I wake up at this time? Meditation is not a posture. Meditation is presence. Sometimes simply sitting quietly and breathing is enough. Sometimes writing your thoughts is enough. Sometimes just accepting your emotions without judgment is enough. The mistake people make is trying to escape the experience. They want the waking to stop without understanding why it started. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., your nervous system is sensitive. Your intuition is sharp. That's why great thinkers, saints, poets, and leaders valued these hours. Not because it took discipline, but because it worked. This is also the time when unresolved guilt shows up, regrets you buried, apologies you never gave, forgiveness you owe to others and to yourself. The mind replays scenes not to torture you, but to heal you. But healing requires courage, and courage requires stillness. Arjun realized he had been running from silence his whole life. Music in the car, noise in the house, endless conversations. Because silence forces you to meet yourself. And meeting yourself is the hardest meeting of all. But once you stop running, silence becomes a friend. One morning, Arjun remembered a dream he had buried years ago. Teaching, guiding, helping people grow. He had dismissed it as impractical. Life doesn't work like that, he told himself. But the soul never forgets what it wants. It waits. And sometimes it wakes you up at 3:40 a.m. Just to remind you, not everyone who wakes up at this time is meant to become spiritual or religious. Some are meant to become honest. Some are meant to change direction. Some are meant to heal childhood wounds they ignored for decades. Some are meant to let go of relationships that no longer serve their growth. The waking itself is neutral. What you do with it defines whether it becomes suffering or transformation. If you wake up and complain, you suffer. If you wake up and scroll, you numb yourself. If you wake up and listen, you evolve. There is also a biological aspect. Stress stored in the body often releases at night. When you are emotionally overloaded, your body cannot fully rest. So it wakes you up asking for attention. Not attention from the world, attention from you. Many people live with emotional debt. They borrow happiness from the future by ignoring pain today. But debt always comes with interest. Nighttime awakening is often that interest being paid. Arjun slowly changed how he lived his days. He started saying no where he meant no. He stopped pretending to be okay when he wasn't. He reduced unnecessary noise. He chose fewer PE, opal, but deeper connections. And slowly his nights became quieter. One evening, the monk told him something that stayed with him forever. If your days are honest, your nights will be peaceful. This is not about perfection. It is about alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions move in the same direction, the mind relaxes. When you live two lives, one for the world and one for yourself, sleep becomes difficult. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., life asks you one simple question: are you listening? Sometimes the answer is no. And that's okay. Awareness begins with honesty, not guilt. If you are going through this phase, don't label yourself as broken. You are not broken. You are becoming conscious. And consciousness often disturbs comfort before it creates peace. Instead of fearing these hours, try honoring them. Even 5 minutes of silence can change how you experience the rest of the day. You don't need to fix everything at once. Just start acknowledging what comes up. Remember, the mind speaks in feelings before it speaks in words. One day, Arjun realized he hadn't woken up at 3:40 a.m. for weeks. He didn't celebrate. He didn't even notice immediately. That was the beauty of it. The message had been delivered. The lesson had been learned. And the monk's final words echoed in his heart. When the soul is heard, it stops shouting. So if you are waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., don't rush to silence it. Sit with it, respect it, learn from it. Because one day you will look back and realize that was not insomnia. That was the moment your life asked you to wake up. If you are waking up again and again between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., stop calling it a problem. Stop calling it weakness. Stop calling it bad sleep. Because the truth is, life does not disturb you without a reason. When the world is silent and your eyes open on their own, it is not your body misbehave. It is your conscience knocking. During the day, you are busy. Busy performing roles. Busy meeting expectations. Busy surviving. Busy distracting yourself. But at night, when all those layers fall off, you are left alone with the one person you cannot escape, yourself. And that is exactly why this time feels uncomfortable for so many people. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., there is no audience, no validation, no escape, just honesty. And honesty is heavy when you've been avoiding it. Most people are not tired because they do too much. They are tired because they carry too much that they never express. Unspoken emotions, unlived dreams, suppressed anger, silent disappointments, regrets dressed as responsibilities, smiles worn as masks. And when you don't deal with them during the day, the mind brings them back at night. Not to punish you, to wake you up. Understand this clearly. Sleep is not just physical rest. Sleep is psychological peace. If your conscience is unsettled, your pillow cannot save you. People ask, why now? Why this time? Because this is the hour when the ego is weakest. The mind is quiet. The heart is loud. And truth doesn't need permission anymore. You may feel anxious, heavy, emotional, restless, or simply alert for no reason. That no reason is actually the reason. Something inside you wants attention. It could be the life you are living is not aligned with who you truly are. It could be that you are giving your best energy to the world and leftovers to yourself. It could be that you are stuck in a place you've outgrown but are too afraid to leave. It could be that you are holding on to someone who no longer respects your soul. Or it could be that you have forgotten yourself completely. This waking is not random. It is a reminder. Many people immediately grab their phone at this hour. They scroll, watch videos, distract themselves until sleep returns. That is like switching off a fire alarm instead of checking for fire. Distraction doesn't solve the problem. It delays the lesson. Silence is uncomfortable only when something inside you is unresolved. If your life was aligned, silence would feel peaceful. This is why ancient wisdom respected these hours. Not because they were mystical, but because they were honest. These were the hours for reflection, prayer, meditation, writing, and truth. Because when the world sleeps, the soul wakes. Let me tell you something very important. Not everyone who wakes up at this time is meant to become spiritual. But everyone who wakes up at this time is being invited to become conscious. Conscious of their choices. Conscious of their habits. Conscious of the direction their life is going. Pain does not come to destroy you. Pain comes to redirect you. If you are waking up consistently at this time, ask yourself one brave question. What am I avoiding during the day that is demanding attention at night? Maybe it's a conversation you keep postponing. Maybe it's a decision you're afraid to make. Maybe it's a boundary you never learned to set. Maybe it's forgiveness you keep delaying toward others or toward yourself. The mind never forgets unfinished emotional business. It waits patiently. And when you slow down, it speaks. People often say, I don't want to think. But growth begins when you stop running from thought and start observing it. Here's the hard truth. If you keep ignoring what this phase is trying to show you, it won't go away. It will return in another form. Anxiety, burnout, anger, depression, emptiness. Life always collects its dues. But here's the beautiful part. The moment you start listening, everything changes. You don't need to solve your entire life at 4 a.m. You just need to stop lying to yourself. Sit up, breathe, don't judge your thoughts, don't fight them. Let them speak, write if you can, observe if you can't. Even 5 minutes of honesty can reduce months of inner pressure. This is not about becoming perfect. This is about becoming real. You see, most people are not scared of failure. They are scared of finding out that the life they're living is not the life they actually want. And waking up at this hour removes that illusion. When your soul is ignored, it whispers. When it's still ignored, it knocks. When it's still ignored, it wakes you up at night. This is not insomnia. This is intervention. And here's something very powerful. Once you start living consciously during the day, your nights will soften on their own. You won't need to force sleep. Sleep comes naturally to a peaceful mind. Peace doesn't come from exhaustion. Peace comes from alignment. Alignment between what you feel, what you say, and what you do. If you smile when you're hurting, nights will hurt. If you say yes when you mean no, nights will argue. If you stay where you've outgrown, nights will push you.